I haven't had communication with Banks for a long period of time, right?
He couldn't even tell you, like, at any point when you speak to him what a problem is. I put him, like, where I put Marquise.
You and Banks are not hanging out at the strip club.
Lloyd Banks is finally breaking his silence, and he's not holding back. For years, he kept it cool, but now he's directly calling out all the lies, the shade, and the twisted version of history that 50 Cent has been pushing for over a decade.
50 Cent takes some responsibility for Lloyd Banks and toting Ayo.
What responsibility? Like a parent?
You're the leader.
What responsibility am I taking for him? Like, explain to me.
That you didn't encourage them to be independent sooner.
Nah, that's not true.
Back when G-Unit hit the scene, they were unstoppable. 50 was the star. Sure, but Banks, he brought the fire. His delivery, bars, and presence made G-Unit feel like a real movement. They came up like brothers, or so we thought. But once the fame kicked in, things started shifting. Suddenly, 50 was bashing Banks in interviews, calling him lazy and acting like he didn't want success badly enough. And really, it didn't. Stop there, 50. Even clowned him in his book.
The guy has Lazy Lloyd tattooed on his arm. He literally wears his laziness on his sleeve. He's always projected an unhelpful mixture of being both introverted and cocky at the same time.
5-0 made it sound like Banks gave up on himself and just faded away. But through it all, Banks stayed silent. No Twitter rants, no messy replies, nothing until now. In a rare and raw interview, Banks finally opened up. And the way he told it, 50 wasn't even around during the darkest moments of his life. That whole lazy label, he says it's straight up false and honestly, kind of disrespectful. Banks claims he was grinding the whole time, just not on 50's terms. He wasn't chasing clout, he was mastering his craft behind the scenes. But of course, 50 being who he is, didn't stay quiet either.
Well, Banks' temperament was definitely a little crazy. I'm not saying anything here that I haven't said to Banks directly. Another time I sat down with him, just when IG was starting to pop off, and tried to drop this gem on him. You gotta get on Instagram, I encouraged him. You can be a little awkward in person, so this is actually a better way for you to communicate with people. Nah, I don't want to do what he said. Why not? You can literally put punchlines under your pictures, make some new fans. Nah, that's corny, he told me. When Banks made that comment to me, I realized he had gone as far as he can go. In fact, my exact thought was, this is someone I can't invest another minute or dollar in.
As soon as Banks aired things out, 50 fired right back with more shade this time, during a stop on his recent tour. In a behind-the-scenes Instagram video, 50 name-dropped both Banks and Young Buck, making it sound like their lack of success was a joke to him. Here's the real difference.
He's a very good lyricist. Among what are known as the punchline rappers who will end their bars with a funny or tongue-in-cheek line, Banks like to call himself the PLK, or Punchline King. I don't know if he's the king, but I'll give it to him that he's in the conversation. He is not, however, a great live performer, stylish dresser, or a domineering personality. So if he doesn't check those three boxes, how is he going to get bigger and become the star in real life he is in his head?
Banks doesn't play internet games. He's not out here tossing shots for attention or acting petty in interviews. That's never been his style. But when he was asked directly about his relationship with 50, he finally let it all out. The silence, the disrespect, and the so-called lazy image that's been haunting him for years.
I had communication with Banks for a long period of time, right?
He couldn't even tell you, like, at any point when you speak to him what a problem is. I put him, like, where I put Marquise.
You and Banks are not hanging out at the strip club.
No, he goes though.
But you don't go.
No, I don't see me there. We went to Atlantic City. We was in it was a showcase. They expect a show to happen tonight. Yeah, like, yeah, we will see you at the show tonight. And I go, oh, they expecting a show. Like, I was like, yo, call all of them, tell them to come here. When I asked Banks, like, when you go to perform your shows, you don't do this song? Like, this is the hardest record on your. And he's like, why? Cause you won? I looked at it and I was like, trying to understand where he was coming from. He hadn't been on my last record. He's like, I ain't been on your record, this is not. And I was like, so what? You don't have to be on none of my records. Like, me being on your records is the favor. I put you on a record with Eminem on my first album, fool. Don't nobody even know you. We were anticipating success, not as much success as we actually had. Mm-hmm. And it would have been sufficient if we had half the success.
And you could feel if this wasn't about clout, it was personal. So what really tore G-Unit apart? Was it fame, ego, or just betrayal? One thing's clear, Banks is no longer letting 50 write the story for him. And now that he's talking, The truth is getting a lot harder to ignore. This wasn't just music drama, this was deep. Banks came out and said it plain. He wasn't being lazy, he was grieving. Around the time 50 was out here calling him unmotivated, Banks was dealing with the death of his father. Real life, pain not some excuse. But instead of getting support from someone he once called a brother, Banks says he got dragged publicly. Over and over again. Interviews, books, memes. 50 turned it into a whole campaign. Sure, 50 gave him a backhanded compliment, calling Banks a decent lyricist. But right after that, he slammed him for not having the charisma or hustle to be a real star. That's cold. And according to Banks, 50 was never there during the hard times, not when it really counted. No calls, no pull-ups, no check-ins, just distance and disrespect. And that stung way worse than any diss track ever could.
Banks was around 14 years old when Biggie and Pac were both popping. So that makes sense that they still resonate with him so deeply. I can relate. I still love the music from when I was that age too. The difference is I haven't patterned my career after KRS-One and Coogee Rap. What would be the point of that? They were both incredible in their moment. But I've always been concerned about creating my own moment rather than copying theirs. Years ago, I told Banks to film a video of his life and post it on YouTube. Introduce people to his lifestyle. Let the camera follow him around for a while and see how he moves. Maybe something he says or does will create a spark, go viral, and then he'll have some heat around him again. What I didn't want him to do was sit there writing punchline after punchline and then grow resentful when no one seemed to care about his mixtapes anymore. They say insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Before adding Biggie and Pac didn't do that. They're dead, my man, I told him. They died before this stuff was even invented. And how do you know they wouldn't be posting on IG if they were alive? It was a line of thinking that really blew my mind. It suggested that if Tupac was alive, he'd still be wearing leather vests and red bandanas tied around his head, sending girls his beeper number. Or that Biggie would still be wearing Gucci sweaters and playing Mortal Kombat 2 every night. In Banks' case, a lot of his failure to grow as an artist is connected to his emotional composition. Banks grew up in the same neighborhood as me, but was never a part of it in the same way. I actually hustled with his father. Banks was more content staying on his porch and watching the world from there. There's nothing wrong with that, but it underscored a particular aspect of his personality. Banks wanted things to come to him, as opposed to going out and getting them for himself. That's not me trying to assassinate his character. The guy has Lazy Lloyd tattooed on his arm. He literally wears his laziness on his sleeve. He's always projected an unhelpful mixture of being both introverted and cocky at the same time. The kind of person most comfortable being a big fish in a small pond. If Banks was hanging out in the studio with a bunch of unknown MCs, he'd be very confident. He'd enjoy being the center of attention. But if I suddenly showed up, he'd feel like he got demoted. He'd be bitter. He didn't feel like the center of attention anymore. I get it. I can take up a lot of the air in the room. The problem is that he'd never fight to get some of that oxygen back, which is exactly what a star is supposed to do. I believe a true star must possess 4 fundamental abilities: create great material, be a high-energy live performer, have a unique appearance, and possess a strong personality. Tupac had all 4. So does Mary J. Blige. Chris Brown, too. If I'm being honest in evaluating Banks, he possesses maybe one of those qualities.
Banks also shut down all that talk about him falling off. Since 2021, he's been putting in real work, 3 full albums. Under the course of the Inevitable series, no radio singles, no label hype, just bars and heart. Banks never left the mic. He just stopped playing the game the industry wanted him to play. And that's the real issue. Banks never wanted to be the artist. 50 tried to mold him into he's not into flexing for cameras or chasing viral moments. No flashy antics, no gimmicks. He's built different, focused on the craft, not the fame. A true rapper's rapper. But that's exactly why 50 turned his back. Because in his world, if you're not boosting the brand, you're dead weight. And Banks, he wasn't trying to play soldier anymore. Now, here's some context. Banks, 50, and Tony Yayo all came up together out of South Jamaica, Queens. This wasn't some label-assembled group. They were neighborhood boys with big dreams, trying to rise up through music.
But when we came to that room, we talked about, I think I irritated him earlier playing with the entourage. Yeah. With MO and them. Like, cause I look.
Thanks, is that true?
I'd rather be robbed at gunpoint than be betrayed. Not that I suggest you try it. At least getting robbed is exciting. There's an undeniable rush when somebody pulls out their piece and growls, "Get on the fucking floor." Once it's over, provided you don't get shot, you can go tell your friends, "Yo, they just stuck me up." Your pockets might be lighter, but you'll be much stronger overall, having survived the experience. Getting betrayed is different. You don't get a great war story out of it. I've never heard anyone get hyped telling their friends, "Yo, you won't believe this, but I just got backstabbed by my mans." There are no stripes earned for that shit. When you open yourself up to someone, either financially or emotionally, and they go left on you, it's a different kind of pain, even more dramatic than a stick-up kid physically taking something from you. Like Malcolm X said, to me, the thing that is worse than death is betrayal. You see, I can conceive death, but I could not conceive betrayal.